Welcome to a new vlog, and this vlog will be a little bit different because I'm reading only non-fiction books. The first book that I want to read is Enemies, the History of the FBI. The second book is Legacy of Ashes, the History of the CIA. And the last book is The Mission, the CIA in the 21st Century. So all of the books are about the US government and the whole criminal justice system. And I'm really interested in it and intrigued to read about this topic. Maybe as research for some future writing projects. Who knows? I don't know at this point. I don't have concrete plans to use this for a story, but you never know. And for now, it is just out of interest. And the first book that I'm reading is now the FBI book. And I can already give you an update on this because I've already read half of the book. It doesn't look like the half, but 100 pages in the end are the appendix. So I've read 300 pages by now, which is about 50 years of FBI history. And I need to say, not very honorable history so far, because Hoover did a lot of things that were illegal throughout the whole history of the FBI to find spies in the US from Russia, from Germany. He is against communism, and that really shows here. Every person from Germany or Russia is a suspect, and even if he says he isn't a racist, he is. And he is really homophobic to things that were pretty common in his time. So it's not really shocking, but it makes me sad that people were treated like that gay people weren't allowed to work at the FBI or somewhere else in the government, that black people were a total different class of people, and that Hoover in general gave nothing to laws and did what he wanted. So he spied a lot on people, even if he wasn't allowed to. And if someone like the president or the governor of justice said to him specifically that he isn't allowed to spy on some people, he did it anyways, just without their knowledge. And now in the 50s and 60s, we have the first time the mention of the mafia, which is a pretty intriguing topic to me. And I can't wait to find out what the FBI did in the next 50 years when we get closer to the present time. And especially after they have a new director at the FBI, because so far it is still Hoover. He was the director of the FBI for over 50 years. So let's see how things will change without him at the FBI and in the government in general. Also with the CIA that was founded in this time, and the NSA. Both the NSA and CIA were founded decades after the FBI, and I will get especially to the CIA later with their own books. So we are focusing on the FBI now, and I will talk to you when I finished the book. And I finished Enemies, the History of the FBI. Let me show you my copy. A lot of things I wanted to talk about with a friend. I made a buddy read to this book. I think to some chapters I made voice notes that were more a podcast. but we really had fun with this. As you can say, this is fun with a nonfiction read. It was super, super interesting. I'm very glad that I've read this book. And yes, it changed my picture of the FBI that I had before, because everything I knew about the FBI was from movies and series, and this gave a whole different picture. It focused on spying and the whole fight against terrorism, and the FBI didn't do a good job there, let me say that. There was way more negative acting than positive acting. And I think even after the book ended in 2013, I don't know what happened after that, but I hope there was a lot of change inside the FBI, because they needed the change, especially with the communication inside the FBI, the whole technological system inside the FBI. There is so much that they can do better, and I hope they do by now. But I don't think I can tell you more about this without getting into too much detail, and I won't do that. So let me say I will switch now from the FBI book to the first CIA book. This is Legacy of Ashes, the history of the CIA. So, the first 60 years of the CIA, and I already took a glimpse on that and can say that the prologue already told me that this is about the fail of the CIA. So, this info was very interesting. I think this will go a similar way to the FBI. We will see, but I will talk to you when I am halfway through the book. Maybe it doesn't look like it, but I am halfway through the book. The appendix is really long in this one. Let me show it to you. This bit is all appendix. So, yes, halfway through Legacy of Ashes, the history of the CIA. And I can show you another thing about the book. As you can see, I started with my post-it, but I stopped at some point, and I don't think I will continue with that, because I'm reading the ebook of this book. I am marking things there, and honestly, it is not worth to me to copy everything to my physical copy, because I'm not that interested into Legacy of Ashes, and I'm a little bit bored by it. The FBI book was much more interesting to me, because in Legacy of Ashes we have a lot more politics, and with a lot I mean a lot. It is almost everything about politics, influenced by politicians. They speak to politicians, they influences and manipulate politics, not in the US, but in other countries like Vietnam, China, Cuba. So much countries. And sometimes they reach their goal by luck, sometimes they don't, and everything went to shambles, which would be okay if they would learn from their mistakes, but they don't. And I don't understand why an agency like this would do that. The author already said in the prologue that this won't be a success story. but quite the opposite. So I was prepared for that. But the ignorance of these people makes me speechless. I am reading that with Yassi, my buddy read partner that I already had for the FBI book. But honestly, we don't have much to say about this book. We make just comments like, now they do this again, but in another country. And wow, what a surprise that this was a disaster. And comments like this came again and again, which is why we don't comment on it that much anymore. We just want to get through it, especially me, because I am still interested to read The Mission, the history of the FBI in the 21st century, with the hopes that things will change there. There are a few super interesting chapters in Legacy of Ashes that are more concentrated on the CIA itself, on what's happening inside the US. And I really like these chapters, but all the politics of other countries and what the CIA tries to do to defend communism in other countries. No, this is boring to me. And I don't think that this is the right thing to do to influence politics in other countries like this, especially when I see the outcome in these countries, like war, like super cruel governments. Do you think this is better than communism? I don't think so. But the presidents of the US wanted what they wanted. The CIA did what they did because these are facts. This is history that happened. So even if it's not the most interesting read to me, it is still good to read, to be aware that these things happened. And I will continue reading and will update you after I finished the book. Finally, I finished Legacy of Ashes, The History of the CIA by Tim Weiner. I started this book mid August. It is now mid October, so I needed 2 months to read this book, these 660 pages. And I feel a bit of relief here that I finished it now. As I said in my update before, it wasn't as interesting and intriguing to me as the FBI book, which is completely okay. I'm just not that much into politics and war history, which are the two biggest points of this book. But I also have to say that it got better in the end for me when we reached a point in history where I was alive. So, early 90s to the 2000s, when we spoke about Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, the war there, and what influences these wars had, what the CIA did to prevent or didn't do. These were things I haven't experienced myself, of course, but things I saw in the news growing up that were always present, which means I was more interested reading about it and learning more about what happened in this time. So I really have my hopes up reading now The Mission next. I haven't started yet, but I will in a few days. And I will keep you updated here in this vlog, of course. I don't think I have much more to say to Legacy of Ashes. So I will see you again when I have started the mission. I am over halfway through the mission now and can say that this book is way more interesting to me than The Legacy of Ashes, especially because this focuses on the time from 9/11 to everything after that. And this is a time where I was alive, where I was a teenage girl and a grown up, and it discusses things that I've seen in the news, but just glimpses of that. And I never took the time to learn more about it. For example, 9/11 itself, or the whole war in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I think it is important to learn about these things, which is why I do it now from the perspective of the CIA and what they did in this whole time. Because what they did influenced the whole world and still influences the whole world. So I haven't experienced these things myself. I wasn't a victim of 9/11. I wasn't a victim of the war in Iraq. But it is important to not ignore these things, to be aware of what's happening in the world. And I'm doing this now with the mission. So I'm really liking this book. It is super interesting, super intriguing. And I'm very glad that I'm reading it now because a lot of the things Tim Weiner talks about here I didn't know about, or I had a false picture of it. So it opens my eyes and let me see things clearer. And I can't wait to continue the book now and will talk to you after I finished it. And here I am with the last update for this vlog because I finished the mission and oh my god, it was so important to read this book and to educate myself because there were some things that really shocked me that I didn't know them. For example, that 9/11 was planned from an Al Qaeda team in Hamburg, so in Germany, that Saddam Hussein wasn't a terrorist but a politician. I didn't know that either. I didn't know that the whole situation in Iraq escalated because first the USA thought they had atom weapons, but that was fake news. And then the US thought, yeah, okay, then we can leave. And out of a sudden, it will be a democratic country, which was not the case, obviously, because the Taliban and Al Qaeda took over and made it all worse. And I also didn't know that before the war between Russia and the Ukraine, Russia already attacked Estland and Georgia, so two other countries in East Europe. As I said before, all facts, I was shocked that I didn't know them. So I'm really glad that I've read The Mission now and that I educated myself on world politics over the last 25 years. Because, yes, the last things in this book are from 2025. So, Trump's second period as president from January to March. That was when the book was finished writing. And a lot of things I've read about Trump made me really angry because I know he is not one of the good guys, but what I read here made me even more angry and dislike him more. Not that all of the other presidents before and between his periods as president did everything right, that is not the case. But he is the most stupid of all of them. And if you are interested in politics or in recent history, if you want to read about what happened in the world in the last 25 years, I can recommend The Mission. It is full of information, so very, very info heavy. And I am surprised that I've read this book in 2 weeks. It is pretty chunky, 550 pages to read, plus the appendix, which I don't read. And you saw a moment ago no tabs in this book. Yes, but I put my notes in the ebook copy, marked a lot of things there, and am really glad that I've got a review copy by the publisher as a digital copy. I bought the hardcover from my own money because I wanted this on my shelf. I had a feeling that this was a must have book and that it is worth the money, and I wanted to support the publisher and the author by this. So I'm glad that I've bought it. I'm glad that I've read it. And I hope some of you might take a look at The Mission, because if I could only recommend one of the three nonfiction books I read here by Tim Weiner, it would be this one. So let's take a short recap. These are the three books that I've read for this vlog. I started the vlog in July. It is now November, so I took my time with it, which I always do with nonfiction, especially if it's so info heavy. I liked the FBI book. I wasn't a fan of the first CIA book, and I loved The Mission, the second CIA book. And I will probably read more of these books in the future, just not by Tim Weiner. I have a few on my TBR about the NSA and the MI5. So there will be a second vlog about these topics, just not in the near future. Please tell me in the comments if you read nonfiction and what is your favorite topic. Like this video if you wanna, follow my channel, and I will see you next time. Bye!